What's up, guys? It's been a few weeks since I've done an update video. We're looking at week 7 since I had my extractions done and got my immediate dentures. Um, I guess something I wanted to talk about today would be how I ended up with dentures at 27 years old. Uh, since I was super young, I've had really bad enamel issues. I believe I had AI, but it was never really confirmed. Never really had any competent dentists where I've lived. Anyone that's ever really seen a case like mine. It's always been a shocker when I walk into a dental clinic that I've never been to and they see inside my mouth. And it's usually even more of a surprise when I come back a few days or a few weeks after I have work done, such as fillings, and they just fall right off of my teeth, and there's no tooth left to do another filling to. So basically, I grew up um, with drinking soda, so that was like a really bad habit of mine from childhood on. My dental hygiene was okay. It wasn't the best. I would usually brush once a day, and throughout my teenage years and my preteen years, there was quite a few days of just skipped brushing that never occurred. Also, as a child, I suffered with acid reflux disease, really bad, and it was something that my parents weren't even really aware of me having as a child and throughout my youth years. And it wasn't really discovered until I was around 14 years of age that I actually had some reflux issues. And, that was when we were really learning how damaging the reflux was. And we began to understand that was a huge factor in the reason that my enamel would just break off of my teeth and fail. So that was a huge toll on my mouth right there. And on top of it, I have a severe grinding issue. I've had it my entire life, and the combination of the acid and the grinding just deteriorated my mouth in a matter of years. And I eventually, in my later teenage years, I was, starting to work on living on my own and doing things on my own. And around age 18, 19, I didn't have insurance anymore. I couldn't afford it because I was trying to afford rent and living on my own and bills and things like that. So my dental really got put on the back burner by age 18, 19 years old, just so I could try and get my foot in the world and get established and, provide for a family, things like that. I I didn't have very good funds or finances, and typically when I would get into the dental office, it was usually a much too late situation. So I would usually go to the dentist for extractions, and at that, emergency extractions. Um, and the dentists absolutely hated pulling teeth from someone at my age. Could not stand it, and on top of it, they couldn't stand that it was a repeated event that would happen. That was my only outlet. That was my only way out of pain, and that was the only thing that I could afford. And a few $100s is what I had to pay for extractions. And I there was no hope. They wanted to do crowns and they wanted to do root canals, and just the cost of a single root canal treatment, there was no way I could afford it. And that's before you even discuss the crown, So crowns and root canals were never a real choice for someone in my shoes. So I went years living with my teeth deteriorating and self-medicating. I self-medicated a lot with marijuana, and I ate Advil and Tylenol like it was Pez candy. I really did. And I did that up until my mid-20s. And in my mid-20s, I began to find that the dental pain, the tooth pain, got so severe that I was missing a lot of work. I would be down for not just days, but I would be down for weeks because of my teeth. They would kick me on my ass, and I couldn't do anything. I would get infections, and the dental offices around here won't just prescribe you antibiotics, even if they know you need them. They want you to come into the office and pay for x-rays, pay for an appointment, and then at that point they'll discuss if they're going to give you antibiotics or not. So I would have to basically try to find antibiotics on the streets. Pretty ridiculous, right? So I would go, a week or two without work, taking antibiotics, waiting for my face to swell down because, the size was just ginormous. I looked like an airhead. And I started to realize the toll that it was taking, not on myself, but on my family. I started to realize that I was becoming very short with my kids and with my woman. And I realized that even when I wasn't in pain, the toll that it was still taking on my family. My woman had to begin changing, meals and how we ate and what we ate, and it would get really depressing for me when she would cook a really awesome meal and I couldn't eat it. I couldn't be a part of it. And it wasn't her fault. It was just my mouth. My mouth was like, there's no way in hell that you're going to be able to chew on this. Like, no. And having to deny a home-cooked meal that had a lot of thought put into it, it was really disheartening for me to have to do that to my woman. And to see that she would just have to bend over backwards to plan meals that we could all eat as a family without me being in pain. And that was a really big hassle and headache because I also have food allergies, so she would have to watch everything anyways for allergens, such as walnuts and pecans, things like that. So she had to really, become like a Nazi with what she bought to feed us, and that was really unfair of me to put on her. And my kids, it got to the point where it was getting really hard to explain to my children where my teeth were, why I didn't have teeth, and why I was always in pain, and things of that sort. So at age 26, I promised myself that I would, that was in 2020, I promised myself that come 2021, age 27, that I would fix my mouth, not just for myself, but for my family. That was a commitment that I made that I made sure I would hold up to. So I began trying to get back into the dental office and get some input, get some x-rays taken. And I was quoted $5,000 to extract all my upper teeth that were left. Mind you, even though I had a lot of upper teeth, I didn't. They were all below the gum line. They were all broken off and sheared off, and my gums were actually trying to heal over the broken teeth. And so it was actually, not only was I going through tooth pain and stuff like that, I was actually going through what infants also go through, and I was teething on a regular basis because my broken, jagged off teeth were cutting through my gums that were growing over the teeth and causing me to bleed and be in pain all the time. So I went through a lot of different pains, and they wanted $5,000 to extract all my upper teeth and put me into a traditional upper denture. Mind you, this is coming from the same dentist that saw how bad my mouth was getting and told me that my only opportunity was to win the lottery. Can you believe that? Hearing that from your dentist? Oh, let me know when you win the lottery. Oh yeah, come back when you win the lottery. I had absolutely no hope of getting my teeth fixed. I had absolutely no hope of being out of pain. I couldn't come up with $5,000. That's a lot of money for someone who's 27 years old and is raising children, has a woman they're trying to support, has bills to take care of, has asthma and other health issues. And that was still going to leave me with a bunch of rotten teeth on the bottom of my mouth, where I still wouldn't be able to eat. I would still get infections. I would still be in pain. So I paid for my x-rays at that appointment, and I requested copies of the x-rays, and I began to do my homework on the internet. Watched a lot of YouTube videos, got really hooked on dental procedures, seeing what experiences other people had, and for a while I even started following vlogs of other people with dentures and seeing what that whole experience was like, what someone went through with extraction pain and trauma, what it was like to talk and eat, what the healing process was like. I think the speech part of it really scared me for a long time. And I began to become very comfortable with seeing how extreme of a procedure I was looking at having done to help push me to keep that commitment I made about fixing my mouth this year, 2021. So I guess to back up a little bit, anything and everything in my life, you guys probably see in my videos and my pictures, I wear this snake brand stuff. Pretty much anything and everything in my life that I've ever wanted, I've achieved or found a way to achieve it, aside from being a millionaire. But I do have $1 million smile. So with that being said, I've created my own brands, and I've created some products, and I have found ways to do the impossible, right? So I started doing dental schooling because I said, you know what, if I can do all these other things and I can help people and I can do things with my hands that other people cannot, why not, become a dentist and give back in the dental field? So I started schooling a lot on dental procedures and being a hygienist and a dental assistant, things like that, get your foot in the door. And I got approved to go to college, had some grants ready for me, but my mouth was too critical for me to even go to school because I was going to be out of school constantly due to infection, due to needing procedures to happen. And so that kind of got put on the back burner, but I continued doing my own education. And I joined Facebook groups. There's a lot of dental groups on Facebook, so I highly reach out to you guys to reach out on these different groups. Not just one, but as many of them as you can get on. And I ended up finding people that were doing this work this all on four, dentures, implants, snap-ons, and I found someone who was willing to do dentures for me in Mexico for $1,900, top and bottom. So keep in mind, I was quoted $5,000 to get an upper denture, and that was unaffordable. So to hear $1,900 to get a set of top and bottom dentures, I had to do it, right? So I talked with this guy. I believe his name was Esteban. Really helpful guy. And we were communicating a lot, and we were setting up for an exact date. He was going to come pick me up from the border. Mind you, I live in California, so getting to Mexico is not a big deal. And I had a dentist from Turkey who was concerned about the clinic that I was going to see. So I reached out to a few other people a few days before I went to this clinic. And there was a lot of horror stories and a lot of stuff that was being covered up and a lot of false reviews for the clinic. So I'm wised up, and I reached out one more time to a guy in Fresno, Ryan Dunlop. He's an awesome man, awesome dentist. Explained my situation to him, and he basically gave me a number so good that I had to say I'm not going to Mexico. So he saved me from going to Mexico. I backtrack a little bit about Ryan. I followed a lot of work that he was doing, namely because, like I said, I kind of took a student approach to the entire dental field, not just a patient approach. So I was really intrigued by the work that he had been doing, as well as his schooling background. And I can honestly say that from my research and my experience with him, he is definitely one of, if not the best, oral surgeon in the United States, plain and simple. So hearing that this man was going to work on my mouth and give me a price that was super affordable, I started to kind of lose my sense of reality, because I couldn't believe that I was going to basically have someone, take all the infection out of my mouth and get rid of all the pain and, the aches and, the false judgment that I've been getting for so long. To know that someone was going to do that for me out of the kindness of their heart, he definitely wasn't making anything on me. I'll tell you that right now. The money that I paid him, it shouldn't have covered me getting put to sleep, okay? So Ryan put me into a really good position. Being 27 years old, it's really hard to find someone to even talk to about dentures, false teeth, things like that. They just want to save all the teeth they can, but none of these people understand, my real medical history, and understand that my teeth won't take to root canals and, post buildup. It's all gonna fail. So basically, when I reached out and talked to Ryan, I explained to him that my biggest concern at the time was death. A very good friend of mine who I was able to relate to a lot about my dental pain and being able to justify putting off, treatment, for things like family, like, oh, I'd rather see my kid, have a better quality of life. I'd rather see my kid get this new toy, or I'd rather see them go to the doctor, And that type of mindset, it seemed so great at the time because I had someone else to, justify, putting my own physical health on the back burner for someone else, right? And anyways, my friend had ended up in ER and had to have his neck slit open, and he almost died. He almost died from an emergency infection that spread from a tooth. And that really was the last straw for me. That told me that this is so serious, Solomon, that if you keep trying to find someone who will work with you, you're going to spend all that time trying to find someone, and the infection's going to get that bad that you're not going to make it to get that treatment. Mind you, I've been on antibiotics. I'm probably pretty immune to antibiotics because I've been on so many different kinds and so many different times. So I basically reached out to Ryan and let him know that my biggest concern was infection spreading and taking my life, and that I had a lot to live for. And not only was Ryan willing to work with me, but when I called his office and they were setting a date for as soon as they could to get me in, it seemed like it was going to be too long. I let Ryan know, hey, I went to the office, or, I called the office and I set this appointment. He immediately got a hold of his office and found a way to get me to the clinic like that, right? So he really showed that, patient care was like a number one to him. So that first initial move that he made like that really made me comfortable with the hands I was in. And that was something I didn't have with these people over in Mexico. They seemed like they were, trying to be helpful, but it wasn't on that personable level like it went to with Ryan. I could tell that he was very passionate about his work and that he was the absolute best choice for me to have, giving care to me. So blessed and thankful. I went with Ryan, and that's basically what got the ball rolling with me getting my teeth extracted at 27 years old and got me into my immediate dentures, which I still love to death. I'm talking really well with them. I think there's only like 1% of words that I can't actually get pronounced or out correctly the first time around. They don't flop around my mouth. I don't gag. I don't have any of the denture horrors that you read about. And I really put that on my doctor. I really put that under Ryan because he takes pride in what he does. And, one of the initial things he said is our temporary teeth are usually just as good, if not better, than finals, because we try to make them like finals from the get-go, and they really do. So with that being said, that's how I got into my dentures. So do I have any regrets getting dentures at 27? I have to say absolutely not. There's nothing that I can say negatively about my dentures. I really can't. Been life-changing for me, all in good ways. The initial week of extractions, you're going to have some discomfort. What do you think about Dad's new teeth?
They're pretty, but anyways, other people are not pretty because they scraped all their teeth out. They need brand new teeth.
Yeah, so what are we trying to do? Are we trying to show people how to get new teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.